Governor Whitmer, thank you for joining us on Primetime.
Glad to be with you.
The first item of urgency in your state, obviously, the flooding. FEMA approved federal assistance. What is the latest, and what does that assistance mean for the people who lost their homes?
Well, let me just start with this. In the midst of a global pandemic, we were given short notice that we had to evacuate 10,000 people. We did so without a casualty. It's really a testament to the kind of grit that people have, and doing so, trying to observe social distancing and mask wearing. I mean, it was really incredible to see this community come together. We're still very concerned about a couple of other dams and the incredible pressure that we have because of all this precipitation that we've had. But we know that this was a historic event. It's going to take a while to get back from it, but we're grateful that we got the declaration declared so quickly. I'm meeting with FEMA tomorrow. We're going to continue talking about the extent of this damage so we can get people the help they need.
And so far, it's early, and you don't want to have false optimism here, but no fatalities reported. Is that still true?
At this point, that is still true, and it
Great.
really is pretty remarkable. I was there talking with people yesterday, and this community's really come together. It has shown the best in people in the toughest circumstances. And I think when you see footage of people in Michigan, you tend to see the protesters at the Capitol.
Mm.
But this is the real story of what's happening on. People are rising to this challenge, helping one another out, and it really was inspirational to see it.
Speaking of inspiration, the man in part inspiring those protests, the President of the United States, there today. Is it really true that he didn't accept an invitation to tour the flooding, or was it about scheduling? It's just hard to believe when infrastructure is supposed to be so important to him.
You know what? I'm not sure. I talked to him for about 5 minutes yesterday. He asked about Midland. I told him a bit about what I saw as I had a chance to survey the damage. He said, maybe if I come back sometime, maybe you might meet with me up there. And I said, sure. But today he was at Ford, and I did not have uh, a meeting with him. So I'm not quite sure to speak to what the intention was with regard to why there wasn't a trip today.
Okay, another big development in Michigan, something akin to what happened in Wisconsin. You go to the legislature, you say, listen, we have to extend the stay at home order. They say, no. You say, I'll do it myself. You cite somewhat arcane executive authority. The Republicans say, we're going to sue you. You're overreaching. You're no queen or king or whatever you want to call it. You go to court. Unlike Wisconsin, you won. Are you surprised, and what was the rationale by the court?
Well, Michigan law and Wisconsin law are different. We have different sources of authority. I am grateful for the victory that we had in court today. I know that every decision I've made, and you know what, I'm sure Tony Evers, every decision he made
Governor of
was based
Wisconsin.
on the best epidemiology, the public health expertise, and the needs of our people. We're all doing everything we can to save lives. Whether you are in New York or Wisconsin or Michigan or somewhere else, I know that governors are acting because we need to, because there's not been a national strategy, and it's on us to do everything we can to protect people. And I cited every ounce of authority in various places that I have as governor of Michigan, and I was grateful for the victory today in court.
What does the victory mean for you going forward?
Well, it means that we can stay focused on the epidemiology and the public health expertise as we continue to turn the dial and re-engage sectors of our economy. We've got to be really smart. We've got to do this incrementally. We have to follow the data. We have to keep ramping up testing so that we avoid a second wave. COVID-19 has been devastating here in Michigan. We know that because even though we're the 10th largest state by population, for a long time, we had the third highest number of deaths. We still have the fourth highest number of deaths in the country. And that's why we had to take aggressive steps to save lives. What we have done has worked, but we are not out of the woods yet.
Mm. Obviously, having the president there, he made an issue out of whether or not he'd wear a mask. He played the media on that today. He says, I'm not going to give you the satisfaction of seeing me in a mask, but I did wear one. What is your take on the politics of his mask reluctance?
not sure what to make of it. But what I can tell you is that we just got the big three back to work this week, and they've got strict protocols to keep their workforce safe. The Ford executives were all wearing masks. Every one of the workers in the facility are wearing masks. This is a place that it's really important to get it right, and so that the workers can have confidence that they're safe. This is a city, a metropolitan area that has been hit hard by COVID 19. And that's why it's so important that everyone takes this seriously. And I would appreciate it if everyone with a platform lived the values we're trying to get everyone else to follow, because it's really important that we are following the science, we're protecting ourselves, and we should all be wearing masks. Let's be very clear.
Can you think of any good reason that the president doesn't wear a mask?
You know what? I'm wearing masks every time that I'm in public. I went and got a COVID 19 test today, not because I'm sick or been around anyone who's sick, but I want people to know it's an easy thing to do. We should all be getting tested. The more people that get tested, the better. The more people that are wearing masks, the better. This is about all of us, and everyone with a platform and a responsibility and a position of influence should be doing precisely that.
How effective do you think the president's none too subtle message, in my opinion, that you guys are faking it? Especially the Democrats. You're faking it. You're making COVID more serious than it is. You're keeping people home longer than you need to because you love the power and you love to suppress freedom and you think it's going to hurt him in the election. How effective is that messaging in your state?
You know, when you look at how people are reacting to the stay home orders, I know we focus on the few that go to the Capitol and make outrageous statements. But the fact of the matter is, the vast majority of people in my state are taking this seriously. And that's how we've pushed this curve down and saved thousands of lives. Vast majority of people, when polled, will say we think we should take a slow, incremental phases back to normalcy, that we need to be wearing masks. People get it. They're not stupid. They understand the science. They understand how highly communicable this is and how dangerous it is. And so I think that all of this political rhetoric isn't changing people's minds. In fact, it's only confusing folks and I think making it more dangerous. And that's why I wish it would stop, because we got to focus on the science. This is a public health crisis, not a political problem
Mm.
that we have. We've got to get it right.
Quickly, why don't you see the mail in balloting or absentee balloting the way the president does, which is that it's too risky? It's too much fraud, it's improper, and if you don't get it, he may have to pull funds from you. Are you worried about that? And why don't you see it the way he does?
You know, this is happening in Republican led states and Democratic led states. The president himself has voted this way. All the Secretary of State in Michigan did yesterday was saying, we're going to mail everyone an application to get a ballot. That's all she said. That is expected by the Michigan Constitution and the people of Michigan. That's how we keep people safe and give them the ability to participate in their democracy. Everyone should be demanding that.
Okay, you worried about him pulling funds?
You know, I'm concerned every time I see those veiled threats, or maybe they're not veiled threats. It is concerning, of course. I don't believe that the ability to do that really exists, and I'm going to continue to forge ahead and do everything we know to be the right thing to do, and work to make sure that Michigan doesn't lose any of these dollars. We are hurting. We're hurting because of COVID 19. We're hurting because we've had this unprecedented flooding event. We need, as Americans, to all demand that we get the support by virtue of being Americans. It shouldn't matter who your governor is, it shouldn't matter about relationships. We should all be entitled to knowing that our federal government is going to protect us and is going to help us in our time of need. And that is right now.
Well, Michigan has certainly become a metaphor for the country in terms of seeing how hard COVID can hit, how people respond, what they tolerate, and what it means heading into November. Governor, the best to you and your family for your health and your effectiveness.
Thank you, Chris.